Okay, I was having some difficulties with the technology. It was fighting me. Oh, get some sunshine for me, sister. Get some sunshine for me. Miss Vicky's in front of me, and she is at the beach for her birthday. And I told her, get some sand between her toes for me. That's awesome. I have a great topic to dive into today. I had an encounter this weekend. Get in the chat. Let me know how you guys are doing in my Zoom and also on my YouTube. If you guys need prayer requests or have subject requests, I know Keith asked for he would like to have us talk about how people in the U.S. are making a living on their homesteads. So I'm going to cover that upcoming. I'm going to do that in a podcast. But keep your topic ideas coming if there's specific things you are interested in, and definitely your prayer requests. And if you are not a part of it, I'm going to say it as always, get in our community, faithledhealing.com/community. So I had an extremely amazing encounter. I always have amazing encounters. God is always showing up. And on Saturday, I was actually in a breathwork session where I was being breathed, and I was just getting a little self-care, a little self-love. And somebody posed a question, and I really want to do a deep dive on it. The question was, can you live every day out of a blissful place, regardless what's coming your way? Now, the consensus on that was no. You guys know me. I could not leave that alone. I could not leave that alone. I did not leave that alone. I actually had two very personal conversations in regard to that topic, and here I am. We need to touch on this because I realize so much that the rest of the world, beyond my four walls and my wilderness setting, don't view life the same way I do. And I want to really hammer into this subject because right now, how many of you feel that you could live a blissful life every day, knowing the different circumstances you've already encountered through your life, or maybe going through right now? How many of you feel you could really live a blissful life? I do. And okay, Deb's raising her hand. All right, awesome. And I know Ken is shaking. Oh yeah, Ken. We got Ken raising his hands heavily. The people at 7B probably think he's having convulsions at the moment. He's fine. He's just praising. Ken, I say that because Ken is actually getting his IVC treatment right now. So he is joining us from his therapy spot. So he is not only being treated, but he is also nurturing others out of that environment, which is not a surprise. So Ken says there are those of us who are hopeless optimists. Amen, right? It's just such a great space to live out of. Now, some of you might be like, I don't want to be happy all the time. And that's perfectly okay. I know some people like that, and that's all right. And you know what? That's okay. But know this, I can live out of a blissful place being in their company, even when they're like that. Because you know why? I'm not allowing them to break me. I'm not allowing their junk to affect me. And I'm in control. That's the key thing we have to remember. But the most important thing is, so Vicky says, I feel that way more than I used to, but sometimes circumstances and those I love going through difficulties affects me. Absolutely. Now, I'm going to speak into that today too, because of course Papa implanted this morning in that regard too. So here's the thing: it's not only even hopeful optimism. It also is, and I know Ken is going to throw his hands up and be in total agreement with this too. It's just that deep connection with Papa. When you have that continually growing deep relationship with Papa. Good morning, Laura. You must have been like circling in. I'm glad to see you. But when we have that deep connection with Papa and we keep working at that and we keep striving for that and we keep focusing on that and we keep understanding his truth, that he's never going to leave us. He's never going to forsake us. He has forgiven us. He will take care of all of our needs. He knows the number of hairs on our head. So when we start to really deepen into that place, because I didn't live out of this place. I was just as stressed as the rest of you. I would take on other people's junk. I had very low self-esteem. I was a people pleaser. And then in people pleasing, when you aren't able to please, you take on that. I mean, it just gets really deep. There's a lot of different things that we all take on. And this has been a journey. I wanted a close relationship with Papa. I was striving for that. I was seeking that. I was asking for that. Nobody knew how to get there. As you hear me share often, I know the secret, and it's just pulling into him, deepening that relationship. But it was also a healing journey and a progression for me to realize that I have total control over how I show up, how I feel. And yes, I am not like this superhuman that doesn't get, sad sometimes or doesn't have struggles. Let me just share this with you. I'm walking things out no different than you are. Over the last 4 weeks, we have 3 vehicles. They have each been in the shop 3 times. I've taken one vehicle to go get the other vehicle to bring it back. It has been a repetitive motion of keeping the auto body shop functioning through their drier season, shall we say. So, we're supposed to bless people, right? So, and it's not our money, it's his money. So I said to the guy at the counter when I did the swap on Monday that, gotta bless somebody. I'm happy it's you guys. What are you gonna do? What are you going to do? And we've been in positions where we didn't have the funding to take care of the vehicles. So, that adds stress. We've all been through these ups and downs of life. There's always going to be ups and downs of life. But the connection with him is most important. The second thing is perspective. If we can't control it, we shouldn't be wasting our time on it. I just lost my train of thought. But if we can't control it, we shouldn't be keeping, paying a lot of our attention there. Yes, it's an issue, but what do we do with it when we can't control it? Pray about it. He hears our prayers. He will answer them. And we need to understand that we can guard and keep our happiness. And this is a great visualization and a great way to think about this. You've got a piece of plexiglass between you and a toxic or overreactive or upset, angry person, or maybe just a very negative person by nature. And you have that piece of plexiglass between the two of you. And they're spewing, and it's hitting the plexiglass, and it's coming back to them. Because think about this. We always hear people saying, if you put it out there to the universe, it'll come back to you. Well, think about it in this regard. You got a piece of plexiglass, and you get what you put into the world. So imagine that piece of plexiglass there. If you're putting happiness out, you're deflecting happiness back to you. If you are deflecting negativity or putting negativity out, you're deflecting negativity back to yourself. But when you are 2 people and there's a piece of plexiglass in the middle and you envision that and they're spewing negativity and it's flinging back at them, you can stay in your happy place. And that visualization is extremely powerful. So how do you do that? Because I'm an empath, which means I take on other people's junk. And Vicky's raising her hand, yes. And I struggled with that because during my healing journey, it was like instantaneous flare when I was around somebody negative or somebody spewing. Like, it was just, my face would just go fire engine red. Like, my body just totally absorbed all of that stuff and all of that stress. And that bothered me because I wasn't trying to take it on, but my body was receiving it. So we got to tell our bodies a little different. And that's where we get our brain and our body connected. So having those visualizations are really powerful because that connects the brain with the body. And I'm a researcher and I'm a tester by trade. I'm a web designer and programmer by trade. I spent my whole life testing things. And this is no different. I tested this stuff out, and I kept trying to improve my situation, even though I may have had to be around people that I couldn't control how they were behaving. And it served me really, really well because I've gotten to this place where I can live out of a place of bliss all the time. Now, Vicki mentioned that she has, there's people that she loves that are having difficult times, and this is true for all of us, and our hearts are there for them, and we tend to take it on. So here's a really great way. The enemy is like trying to fight me here on this one. Really, he's like taking my thoughts left and right. So I'm going to get like really in tune here. Papa, fill me up. Enemy, I love this. This is a new line. I was blessed with this yesterday. Kiss my wind. That's exactly how I reacted yesterday when I heard that. I love that. I stole it right off the bat. I love that. And that's exactly what he can do. Is do just that. Is he can kiss my wind. Go away. Okay, so we've got loved ones that are having issues. Plexiglass is in the middle. Only this time, we're not watching them being irate and ignorant or whatever. We're watching them hurting. And or needing to share their junk. And this is where being an empath really comes into play. In that our hearts are there. And instead of taking it on in a woe is me way and a hurt and just like deep in the heart, like an arrow, you take it on with empathy and you listen to what they have to say. And you hear them out, and you are just a neutral party listening to what is hurting them, and you allow them to just release. And you realize that that's just what they're doing. They're releasing. They're releasing their stuff. And I look at it this way too. Because I have a lot of people that come to me to talk to me about life's ups and downs, not only my family. And in order to be the best I can be as an integrative health practitioner, I had to learn not to take that on. And this is what God gave me, is that we empathetically listen to what they're going through. Oftentimes, much of what people are going through, we've already gone through. I've often struggled just from tone of voice or aggressiveness in their sharing of their story. But it's not directed at me. It's just that's how it's coming out. So when you start to understand that, because I think these two scenarios are the two that trip us up the most. And the third is health, and we'll talk about that. Laura, help me because the enemy's attacking hard today. I feel very coherent, but he's pulling my thoughts because he doesn't want me talking about this. So take me back to the health scenario on what we talked about yesterday. So when we're listening to people that are just in a hurting place, allow them to be hurt. Allow them to express themselves. And even if you have to, because I used to feel my neck just like curling up into like this like slinky, tight slinky when people would start unraveling, and I don't want to be in that position. So what I started to do is just, while I'm breathing, that's another key thing, is let them share and just take nice breaths. You know, it's a beautiful thing. Our breath is built in, and we can, you know, regulate it without people realizing that we're doing it. So just breathe, listen, and just lift up prayers. Papa, protect me. If I'm supposed to speak, give me words. If I'm not supposed to speak, bind my lips. It's very simple. Maybe easier said than done initially. Just because we're used to needing to fix. Many of us are fixers, and that's both men and women. And sometimes we're not necessarily meant to fix. We're just supposed to listen. And when we learn that, that's helpful. The other thing is, somebody else's circumstances, unless we can like maybe contribute a little funding to their struggle, or we can make them a meal, or we can do something that we are capable of that would help them, that's great. But if there is nothing we can do in their circumstances whatsoever, we need to take that to God, put it at his feet, and leave it there. Now, if you struggle greatly with like anxiety and depression and let's just say, you know, well, let's just leave it there. So you deal with those two things, and you're always when you encounter something negative, it just takes you into that place. It used to do that for me. Maybe because I didn't feel I could help them. Maybe because I'm a lover, not a fighter. So, you know, those situations would always like have a tailspin for me, and I would be affected for multiple days just because, well, let's just say the enemy used that as a tool against me. And he does. But here's something else that could be the cause of this for you as well, is if you have problems regulating yourself and you have problems being able to get yourself out of places on your own. And trust me, I struggle with that too sometimes. And the power to that is getting other people praying with you and for you. It all goes back to God, and it all goes back to our prayer life. But there are other things that you need to be aware of. So in this situation of anxiety, depression, those types of things, and if that's a commonality, and that's what happens often for you, I want you to realize that toxicity just toxicity is causing that issue for you. Because when we are over-toxified, it causes the body to do varying things that aren't normal. Releasing histamine is one of them. It also, when you get really, really toxified, it can cause your genes in your body to become renegades and start misbehaving. Some people have mutated genes. I think that we can rebalance our bodies. Just going to say that. And again, I'm not here to give you medical advice. I am not here to diagnose, cure, heal anything. I'm just sharing my knowledge with you. But when our bodies are over-toxified, I was so toxified that I almost lost my life. So I know all about toxicity. I know how it can affect the body. We need to understand that that can play a role. So if you are not healthy and well, there's a very good chance that there is a lot of toxicity in your body that is not helping you in this circumstance. Reach out to me. Get on my calendar for a free consult, faithledhealing.com/calendar. Now, the other thing that can play a role is past trauma. Past trauma can cause you to be triggered by events. I was triggered by a lot of different things. My childhood was really rough. Let's just say that I was picked on at school, but I was also picked on at home in a very deep way. And hence my low self-esteem, hence my need to live life in a place of fight. I had to constantly be protecting myself. So as an adult, I'm ready to protect myself when things get heated, when things get loud, so we've got to heal from things. And if I'm speaking to you in that regard, that can also be overcome. I'm really excited. I will be bringing a new course to you and a new book to you on how to overcome what we've had to walk through. But I'm going to give you some really big pointers today. If you struggle with stuff, hurts from the past that are really plaguing you, that just keep replaying, and keep in mind that's the enemy sitting on your shoulder, tell him to go pound sand or to kiss your wind, flick him off your shoulder, and may be gone. I know, doesn't that make you laugh? I had tears. I had tears yesterday. That's like the best Christian cuss word, like that. That was just so funny. Anyway, and I get very vocal with the enemy when I know he's present. You just heard me. I tell him to leave. And that's what you need to do. When you hear that voice replaying old dirt, that's not God. And that's really not normal. It's not, it is normal in our world, but it shouldn't be. And we have control over that. We have control over that. So flick the enemy, get him gone, and write down all that junk. Write down all that junk that was just surfacing on a scrap piece of paper, on a junk mail envelope, and then either rip it up or burn it and get it gone. And then I want you to sit down and write 3 things you're grateful for. And I want you to focus on your wins. And I want you to keep repeating that process as that happens, because 2 things are going to happen. 1, the subconscious is going to start flicking them for you, and you don't have to worry about it. Not that he's not going to keep trying, so be in tune. And 2, you're going to find that those things that plagued you, the subconscious is also removing. You're removing. You are unloading your suitcase. You're walking down the road, and your boxers and your underpants just got left behind, and now your t-shirt and your jeans and all those extra clothes that have holes and are too big, right? That's the hope, right? Get rid of all that stuff. Let it all go. We're onions. We are layers, and the more we unravel and the more we unload that stuff, the lighter we are, the freer we are, and the more able we are to handle what comes our way. Because when we are not stuck back here and we can live right here, we can make the decision to choose how we do everything. When we're back here, you just gave the enemy full reign. And that's a really good way to look at it. When you're back here, unless you're reminiscing and smiling, I do that often. I think about my dad. I miss my dad. And he's in heaven, so I think about him often, and I go there. So I do that kind of past thinking. But as far as the garbage goes, I don't even, it's not even a part of my thought process anymore. I've been able to really unload it. I can be in the presence of people that triggered me before. Like, I'd get a text message and would like flare. It was really bad. I have people that have extremely hurt me. And through this process of doing the writing, that's expressive writing, and then focusing on your wins and your gratitude following that, you're getting your mind focusing on what's most important. And the more you write, the more you will find you're not writing about it anymore. It just leaves. It's a beautiful process. And while you're doing that, be blissful. Enjoy life. Enjoy the things that make you happy. As far as the people that, are really in need of just sharing with you and they're hurting, when we can live out of that place of empathy and we live out of that place of just watching us lifting them up to God and not trying to fix or own their problems or, because a lot of times we can't help, that it's out of our control, it's out of our hands, and here's the other thing. This is really big and this just implanted. It's part of their journey. So sometimes when we take on those things that we shouldn't be, how are we affecting their journey? How are we affecting their opportunities for maturity and growth and relationship with Him? Because I don't know about you guys, but every day is an opportunity to grow in Christ. Every day. Whether it's being broken down and grown back up, whether it's being nurtured and just having so many blessings that you could possibly not live out of this blissful place. And it's also, being aware that sometimes in the mundane and in those seasons of rest, that's exactly what they are. Sometimes we get into a non-blissful place because we're just hanging out. We're unable to do the things that we want to do, maybe, or we're just, everything else is so active and all of a sudden we're in this quiet place. Most people don't know how to handle the quiet. My recommendation to you in that place is to be in tune with the fact that is the enemy trying to, put you in a weird place? But the other thing is, it's winter. Most people neglect to think about this, but what does a bear do during winter? He hibernates. He rests. Why? So he can be his happy self in spring. Why do we keep ourselves from resting? Rest is renewing. Rest is rejuvenating. And a lot of times that plays a role why we are possibly reactive or just taking on stuff. Because we are at such a clip that we're not giving ourselves that opportunity. Now, you heard me say where this all stemmed from. I did self-care and had breath work done for me. I've joined the lady who trained me on Saturday. I practice what I preach. I know my limits. I know when I need rest. My son popped in on Sunday while I was taking a nap in my compression swing, wrapped up in a really nice cuddly fleece blanket, and was in a very blissful place of rest. And I welcomed his visit because I was already haven't been there quite a while. I rest. I take that time. I also do things that nurture my soul, that make me happy. The sun is shining. You can be certain. I will be out either in muck boots because we have mud up to our knees, or I'll find a spot that still has a foot of snow. We've had nothing but rain. So these are the ways that you can help yourself. And I am going to jump off of YouTube right now. I appreciate you guys joining me. I'm going to go deeper in my special access. I would love to have you join me and go face to face, because these people right here are my hub. I love, not that you guys aren't, but I get to go face to face with these guys and I know them. They are family. And that's what I want from you guys too, is I like to get to know you guys. It's one-sided this way, So anyway, have an awesome rest of your day. I look forward to seeing you next week. Get ready. The Mountain Boy and I have some really good podcasts coming your way. And we have some really amazing guests coming to join us. And I've got a lot of informational blog posts coming to faithledhealing.com. So join me there. I love you guys. God bless.